pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. As we all know, Chris Burns, former councilman, ambulance corps engineer, among other things. He did an awful lot with the ambulance corps. President of the Senior Citizens Organization. Chris was a go-to guy for a lot of things, and he will be missed by the people of this town. Thank you very much. Amen.
Bob, just a reminder, I gotta leave at 7:35.
Whenever you have to leave, just get up. I'll jump over the...
I'm not, yeah.
If everyone would take note of this young lady standing in front of me here, Leslie. 10 years ago. 10. Yep, I went to a ceremony where you received your citizenship of the United States. 10 years ago. Congratulations again. By the way, she's a Brit.
Everybody gets.
Didn't run back.
Actually, the mayor and I were both at the ceremony, and we shook. Just a funny story. This is before COVID, obviously. We shook hands with like everybody in the place. There was what, 100 or so people there, or what have you. We shook hands with everybody, and once the ceremony got all done, Joe and I both had the same idea. We headed for the men's room to wash our hands.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Approval of the minutes of our, public comment on the agenda items only. Anybody? Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Fallon?
So I wanted to have, I thought I was going to rehash what we may have all had. So this is about the cell tower.
Yeah. I need you to stand up to the microphone, please.
I didn't know if this was.
That's for the people at home.
I don't know now about the time limit because I have this.
I'm going to give you 3 minutes, so.
Okay, so let me cut it short. So I have things here I'll leave with ye that I thought that you would have.
I apologize. I don't know what happened there, but
Oh,
my desk is quite messy, but it's not as messy as some of them in the town hall. But go ahead.
somebody put a box of chocolates on top of it.
That might be.
Chocolates. Okay, so regarding the cell tower, there are a group of residents within a distance that at one time was illegal for a cell tower to be built at. The new cell tower is now going to be built over the town garage. So the area that the residents, I'm not representing them, but I'm just speaking as what they are speaking to me about. So the questions I had that I was to give you were, well, let's see, I left my glasses. I got my minutes.
I forgot my glasses too, but go ahead.
So, can the contract between the Verizon telecommunication company and the town board be changed, edited, or postponed? Well, let me give you the list of them, and then...
I think the short answer to that, Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, the short answer is no.
Okay,
Am I right?
right. So
That's
you-
correct. I mean, there had been prior
have
discussions
been
with
changes.
Verizon and changes, and at this point, we're not seeking further.
So you will not have any public session for the people who, for the citizens to ask questions about the tower?
Again, the short answer is no.
Have alternative locations for the tower been addressed?
To my knowledge, they have, yes.
So there are contractual issues that the citizens have concern about. When this was posted, there wasn't any contract to the posting about the meeting. So we're not against cell towers. Everybody, we need them, we like to have them. It's the area that we're concerned about. There's a home that is probably 100 feet. We have the town people in the garage, in the town garage, living within an area that once was verboten. So that's been waived. The electromagnetic radiation testing is not in the contract. That's been waived as well. So and the zoning restrictions. So our question is, so I'm sure you addressed it, the people that are working underneath it. What is the town of Highlands' responsibility to its citizen should any citizen suffer illness due to any health issues arising from cell tower issues? So at the board, the village board, what we were trying to express to you about the cell tower, we're not against a cell tower, but most residents and small children are uncomfortable with the neurobehavioral symptoms that do occur. I have a chart here. You know, not everybody is not everybody is acceptable to it. So I have a letter from the town of Highlands Youth Baseball Board of Directions. They were asking, I read it at the village board, they asked to be read and put into the minutes. They are, after careful consideration and analysis, the town of Highlands Youth Baseball Board is in support of Copel's January 6th letter, actually asking you to postpone a vote on this Secor Monroe factor. We ask the town board to rescind its initial August 8th, 2022 resolution and have a proper open process. We agree that at a minimum, any contracts with telecommunication companies should include random radiation testing. Preferably, these should not be fixed 25-year contracts, but have a periodic review so the town can decide whether to continue or not. The indemnification clause should also be improved to reflect best practices employed in Westchester and the Hudson Valley. And thank you. Then I have a letter also written by a West Point nuclear engineering professor. She's finishing up at a PhD at MIT. She sent this to Mayor D'Onofrio and the board. Please postpone the cell tower vote tonight to give residents more time to learn about the proceedings and proposed arrangement for the tower construction. I'd like to echo the Little League's call for periodic electromagnetic radiation testing to be incorporated into the tower's operational contract. And she thanks you for your civil service. And I don't know if anybody's interested, but I have here the chart and the effects of the neurobehavioral symptoms from the electromagnetic radiation. So again, it's not the cell tower. We all need our cell phones, but the consideration for it is so close to the area that once was illegal to put a cell tower in, and no one knows why it is so close. It's not 100 feet from a home, right next to the town garage, and then along Mearns Avenue, along Pellwood Lake section. So I don't know how late it is. Nothing's ever too late if you want it to be, but that's my take.
Thank you for your comments, Barbara.
Thank you.
The gentleman from Verizon, is there any comment you'd like to make at this time?
Sure, just very brief, if
Yeah.
you don't mind. So, good evening, my name is Scott Olson, I'm here representing Verizon, and I would just want to say we're familiar with the comments that this woman has presented. I think I heard them at the village board also. The one thing that's important is that we've submitted a licensed engineer, a New York State licensed professional engineer's certification that this facility will be in full compliance with the FCC RF emission requirements. Not only in full compliance, we're hundreds of times less than the maximum that we actually can legally emit at. These things are very low power. They operate at hundreds of times less than the maximum. The significance of that is once we conclusively demonstrate that fact, it's basically preempted. Everything would have to go to the FCC, not from this board, but states and local municipalities can't even consider that because we've demonstrated proof of compliance. So, and we've submitted that site safety or site compliance report in the record. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Mrs. Fallon and everyone else seems to keep calling it a cell tower, and it's actually a monopole with the antenna on top. Is there a better word for monopole, or is that the only word?
So a monopole is just the specific type of tower that we're installing. It's
It's still a tower then. A monopole is still a tower.
it's a steel tower. There will be a few antennas at the top. The significance of the monopole is that you can run the cables that connect to the ground equipment to the antennas at top through the monopole, so you don't see the cables. On other types of towers, that's not the case, and you see the cables. So this tends to hide that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Public comment? Anyone else?
Is it possible to get his information about the difference in the electromagnetics? Is it possible for the town
The-
to make that public?
So the site safety report is the site safety report that he just referenced is on the town website.
We have basically everything on the website concerning
Everything's
this
on the
particular.
website.
Yeah. Okay, being no further public comment, Olga is not here. Olga wanted to do something about appointing somebody to the committee, to Richie. Olga wanted to appoint somebody to the committee.
You want me to do that now, or we were gonna do that under other business? You wanna do that now?
We can do it right now.
You caught me off guard, so let me get to those names. All right, so the Citizens Environmental Advisory Committee met here, and we had a bunch of new people. I'll do that in my report later on. Out of those new people, 2 of them are desirous to be nominated to the committee. One is Ashley McAdam, and the other one is Katie Hertel. Those are the 2 names.
Okay, and they're recommended by Olga and
By Olga,
and
yes.
yourself?
And
the-
they want to be on the committee, so yes, I recommend them.
Okay, would you
I'd
like to?
make a motion?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Ashley McAdam and Katie Hertel to the Citizens Environmental Advisory Committee.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good decision.
Okay.
I jumped the gun.
I'm moving things around on the agenda because we do have a councilman that needs to leave early, so I'm just trying to take some of the more important things while he's here. Joe, I don't pronounce it right, but if you'd come up and,
Thank you. Well, my name's Jeff Demansky. I'm the Executive Director of the nonprofit Center for Economic and Environmental Partnership, and I've been here, and I thank you for having me again, to build awareness about the community energy program that is now very close to launching. here in the town of Highlands and the village of Highland Falls. We've been having conversations and presentations for well over a year now. There is lots of recorded presentations for a deeper dive into the full extent of what this program is. But and on the website and on the name of the program is the Town of Highlands Community Power Program. So there is information on the town's website that links to a separate program website that has details about the program. But in a nutshell, it's structured as a public benefit program for the community members. Anybody in the borders of the town of Highlands and at the same electricity rates in the village of Highland Falls will have the ability to access a fixed, very competitive electric supply rate that will be on their Orange and Rockland bill. And the default choice, it's an opt-out program, meaning the town and the village are offering it to a majority of their community members who are in an existing state-established opt-out program for electricity supply choice. That existing opt-out program was established in New York State in the 1990s when the electricity markets were deregulated. And what that did, that turned Orange and Rockland into a delivery company, which many people don't realize that Orange and Rockland is only a delivery company, like UPS or FedEx or the Postal Service. They get paid to deliver energy. They cannot own power production. They cannot make money on supply. So there is a supply marketplace that's existed since the 1990s. Many people have gone into that marketplace to look for better rates or to support renewables, which has always been more expensive. Many of those folks have had fine experiences. Many people have had bad experiences. Contracts that had fine print that were troubling, rates that seemed fixed for a period that ballooned, exit fees on contracts. I bring up all this as the reasons why the town of Highlands and the village of Highland Falls have chosen to proceed with this program. It's a win-win-win scenario. We now have fixed rates on a contract that will last 18 months, starting in April of 2023, just a few months from now. Letters will be sent to all of the eligible customers in both the town and village describing the program. The letters will come from the town and the village. It will have the seal of the town and the village on the envelope and on the letter itself. Detailed explanation of the program describing the default program rate that people can take advantage of for 100% renewable electricity from New York State sources. That rate, rounding, is 13 cents per kilowatt hour for supply. And for comparison, the rate from Orange and Rockland right now for predominantly non-renewable is about 14.5 cents. So our 100% renewable is better than that, what the current rate is. There is also a second rate option, the non-default, that's about 12 cents or 11.2 cents that anybody could choose at any time. And it is a win-win scenario in that it's a very competitive rate, a way to support more production of renewables on New York State grid in a way that there is numerous consumer protection elements, including no restrictions whatsoever. It is offered as a new default option, replacing the state opt-out program, but anybody could opt out of this program at any time. All of this will be explained in the letter that will be sent on and around February 9th, so it's very close that the letters will be going out. All program details and FAQ, contact information. There will be description of how to opt out of the program, including calling our program number, our local program number, going to the website using the web form, or sending in a card that's in that mailing with a prepaid envelope into the mail. Any one action opts you out of the program, but if you choose to come back into the program, you can do so at any time as well. There's no fees, subscriptions, there's nothing hidden. It is a transparent program to deliver all those benefits. The town, the village, working with the administrator they chose, Jewel Community Power, have vetted and optimized the choice for electricity supply in a way that people can support the transition to more renewables on the grid in a no-risk way. So there's no restrictions, no funny business, no fine print, nothing to avoid. There will be, I'm going to run over to the village and tell them the same thing shortly, but we have more public meetings coming up. The letter will have information about 2 public meetings, one on March 2nd, one on March 4th. Both of those are Zoom meetings, webinar meetings, so you can attend remotely, hear about the program, hear all the details, how to get in and out of it. I am local. I live in Beacon. I'm a born and bred Orange County person. I'm here. If you want to hear more about this, invite me back, and I will talk ad nauseum. So I thank you for your patience on that. But It's about to happen. It's very exciting, and I will stop there and I'll answer any questions.
The rate,
Yes.
you said was 12 something per kilowatt hour?
If you round up, the 100% renewable it's just under 13 cents per kilowatt hour. So it
I
rounds
just
to about
looked at my
13 cents
bill.
per kilowatt hour.
My current bill is just under 16 cents per kilowatt hour. So without doing anything, I'm gonna save 3 cents.
Compared to the current rate, yes. And there will be times at Orange and Rockland rates lower than when we go into the shoulder seasons, spring and fall, when the electricity demand goes down, typically the rates go down. So there will be months where Orange and Rockland's rates below the program flat fixed rate, but it'll likely balloon up, and we do expect that it will be very competitive over the 18-month duration of the contract, or possibly even better, a win-win.
Thank you.
Is there any question from any, in the public?
I have a sign-in sheet too, just require, we're submitting this to the Department of Public Service, that we were here and talked, and people were here to listen to me too. So that's just backup information for folks who are here. You're not signing up for anything. Any questions though? Happy to answer them. I thank you all again. It's great working with you. I'm here. The phone number, 859-9099. If you have questions, we're here and happy to answer questions.
On the website, you were at the library, 2 weeks ago on Saturday?
And earlier today,
I think
it was
tonight
5:30
people
o'clock.
showed
Yeah,
up,
5:30 this
so-
afternoon we were there, and we'll be
It's on our
back.
agenda for tonight too, just so
Thank you, so that's
know,
great.
as a
I
public
appreciate
meeting.
that.
Can I say one thing regarding? Jeff earlier said too, somebody had said to me last week that, I don't like the idea of people telling me what I'm going to be doing with my electric bill. And again, to remind everybody, what makes it work is that the community had to sign into it to get the rates to get into the program. But again, this is a perfectly transparent situation. You can opt in and out at any time. We have to join it to get that better rate for the better good for helping everybody save money. But again, if for some reason you like the higher rates of Orange and Rockland, you're going to be able to track and compare over the course of the year. And as Jeff said to me earlier, Orange and Rockland gives you no choice. At least with this program, now you have choices, and possibly, again, renewable energy. That will save you some money. So again, we had said the word win-win back in the beginning, and I remember our neighboring government had made a comment about, nothing's a win-win, but really there's nothing hidden here, everybody. It's a straight up transparent thing, and I think, I hope, we'll all see better savings and doing a good thing at the same time for the environment. And Jeff did also mention in the mailer, we hope to, for people that have more questions one-on-one after the program kicks off, that probably at one of the senior meetings at the senior center, after their luncheon in February, we'll hang around to help people that have questions or want help opting out. We're going to be there I'm going to make it myself to be there to help out. And as soon as Ann Molina gets the new center up and running, we'll do something there. I'm sure a few times for people that want to come in and that need a hand with this, that maybe you have a question on. Again, it's a phone number or a simple click on a web page, which will be all in the mailer, right?
That's right.
Everything will
correct.
be spelled out, but we'll be here to help because we want people to feel happy and secure that, this really is a good thing. There's no tricks. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to skip down to the general business. I have two proposals for the town's insurance, which we need by February the 4th. The difference between the two programs, our present program, they offered a estimated price of, and that, by the way, our present program is CLG insurance, $100,696. We also got a quote from Marshall and Sterling. Their quote was $111,178. So there's about an $11,000 difference between the two programs. What they offer, the benefits of the programs are basically identical. I'm going to ask the board to allow me to sign one of these insurance. CLG is the one recommended by the
Comptroller.
the
Kelly sent that
controller,
out, right?
and myself, actually. Do I have a motion? To allow the supervisor to sign the contract?
Motion.
Which
With
one?
CLG.
CLG. CLG. All in favor?
Aye.
Give me a roll call.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
No, I motioned. Somebody's got to yell out second. Oh, did you second? Second.
All right, there, we've got a second. All right. Now give me a roll call, please.
Councilmember Salva,
Aye.
Councilmember King,
Aye.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Aye.
Councilmember Yeager,
Aye.
Supervisor Lipsy.
Aye. Now, the next thing on general business is our Verizon land lease contract, and I will turn that over to our attorney to read the resolution. Or to summarize the resolution.
Sure.
It's 3 or 4 pages.
It is 3 or 4 pages because it goes back into the history of the various aspects of working with Verizon Wireless and documentation and reports that they gave, as well as the village, who ultimately undertook Seeker as lead agent for this project and made a determination under the Monroe balancing. So the resolution does reference quite a bit of the history of the project, but at its core, it is a resolution authorizing the town to enter into the land lease agreement with Verizon Wireless of the East, DBA Verizon Wireless, place a telecommunications facility on town-owned property located at 1530 Route 9W in the village of Highland Falls. It does adopt the village board seeker negative declaration and findings, and it would authorize the supervisor to execute the land lease agreement in accordance with section 64.2 of the New York State Town Law, and that is subject to permissive referendum requirements.
Thank you. Board like to move the resolution?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Let me have a roll.
call, Leslie.
Yeah, let me have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Salva,
Aye.
Councilmember King,
Aye.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Aye.
Councilmember Yeager,
Aye.
Supervisor Lipsy.
Aye. Okay, all of the information is online concerning this land lease.
And Leslie, you have a notice for publication in the paper this Friday.
Okay. The highway superintendent has requested that we change our drug testing company, if the laboratory, what have you. And since we are fortunate enough to have Tiffany, the deputy highway superintendent and clerk, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, have a nice night.
Thank you.
Thank
too.
you.
Could you give us a little explanation?
Absolutely. So I don't have information on the partners in safety. I believe Gary provided that to the board. So Emergency One, we switched over to Emergency One last January of '22 with concern of accidents after hours, because it's such an expense to have a doctor and nurse available if we crash one of the trucks during a snow event. So we did make the switch over to Emergency One with that in mind, and that our number one concern, that partners in safety was so expensive if something was to happen. So with the entire 22 year being managed by Emergency One with the drug and alcohol program, it was an absolute disaster. I'm still trying to chase them down for data that should have already been provided to me that I'm reporting to the state. It's just been a disaster, every appointment after another. And we have to do quarterly testing along with physicals for the dial bus driver. So with partners in safety, they come to us. We no longer have to send anyone up for random drug tests and alcohol tests to New Windsor. just hopefully makes things a lot easier moving forward. We gave it a shot, we tried to save some money, it just didn't work. So if we could switch back to partners in safety, it would make my job a lot easier.
And again,
moving
this is
forward.
for all our commercial
It's for,
licensed.
yes, for DOT physicals, it's for the 19A DOT physicals, it's just for our driver for dial-a-bus. All the random drug testing and alcohol testing that takes place is for New York State DOT for all commercial drivers.
And they come to us to do it.
That's correct. And
Good.
typically when Partners in Safety came in the past, we've conjoined with the Village and CD Perry at some point to just kind of get all together and get all the testing out of the way, so.
Well, I'll reiterate too, what you said to me, to the public is in being in compliance for testing and stuff, how many man-hours were a better
Right,
word,
so
wasted.
for example,
going
I would
over-
have a 9 o'clock appointment for a random drug test. You would have a 9 o'clock appointment and a driver would go and sit there for 2-3 hours sometimes. Meanwhile, that's, 3 hours that they're not in the area to complete sanitation routes or highway, whatever needed to be done for that day.
And they're
So
getting
it's-
paid.
It's, exactly.
And what are you expecting to see with partners?
It running smoothly like it used to. Them coming to us and not losing an employee for more than a half an hour.
Makes sense. Any questions?
No, when I was a fire commissioner, they used Partners in Safety for their physicals, and it was a very successful endeavor.
It is. Emergency One is too new at this to run a successful operation for managing New York State DOT. With the requirements that we're required to be in compliance with, it's not worth rolling the dice with a company like that at this time, for sure.
We acknowledge the man in the
I
back.
will say I'm gonna have to agree with Partners in Safety because my other job uses emergency one, and we have staff that wait there almost all day.
Right.
The whole 12-hour shift.
Right.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
the worst thing was our driver, dial bus driver, needed a physical. And when you have an issue with recertifying, you have to get clearance with your regular doctor. It's just not a regular physical. Well, when she went to go get the update with her doctor and came back to Emergency One with that information, they then lost her paperwork. So that was extremely frustrating. So we just sent her to Partners in Safety. They credited our account for that physical, but that was kind of the determining factor that we definitely need to go back to Partners in Safety.
Okay. Anybody, any questions, town board? Any questions?
Okay.
No. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thanks, Tiff.
I'll ask for a motion to allow the supervisor to sign a contract with Partners in Safety.
I'll make that motion.
One second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Fallon. Okay, see that, we got you, all. And if you want to give your report now?
It's a small, quick one.
Okay.
Just for Recreation Department, they're looking to, the update there for them would be, they're looking to have spring flag football. So if you are interested in flag football for the springtime, contact the Rec Department and see Aaron for more information. And of course, help is always welcomed in coaching and so forth. So, and with that, we also, I did this weekend the planting, well, we didn't plant yet, but the Chamber of Commerce had the blue spruce Christmas tree that was in the gazebo donated by a company, landscape company, local landscape company. And they're looking to plant it at the Patriot Garden and let it flourish over there. And so we brought out some community members, Doris Lent and Angela McClellan, yes, and a few others. And of course, the Chamber, Charlene Yale was there as well.
Mrs. Lent was there.
Yep, Miss Lent, yep. It was a nice little ceremony we had where we didn't actually plant the tree that day, but we marked the spot where it's going to be going, so we all know it'll have a great spot to flourish. It was supposed to get put in the ground today, but with the weather that we had, I think that hampered those activities, but it should be in sometime this week and planted in the ground, so it'll be a nice little added addition to that garden, the Patriot Garden, and keep that looking, bright and cheery. And then lastly, ambulance corps, just so we know, and, I know stay on it, but we had 11 calls that we had to turn down. And out of the 11, 3 of them, there were no callbacks, so they immediately went to another call center. So I know the ambulance corps we all know it as a life-saving business, and it is, but it is also a business, and for all the calls we do turn away, it's revenue that we're not receiving to help with some of the issues we have at the Corps. But we're working on that. It's going to take some time, but we'll get that taken care of and hammered out. So
Need volunteers.
we need volunteers desperately, and drivers, yes. So wherever somebody can help and come in, and that'd be great. Volunteers are tough to come by these days, I understand that, but we'll hope we'll get there. And lastly, Rich, I think planning board meeting I had to miss, but I think
I did too. Well, I got a little report on it. I chose to play darts that night rather than attend that meeting, so.
that's all I got at this time.
Thank you. Councilman DeWitt.
Going backwards, huh? All right.
That's correct.
See ya.
Left to right. I heard enough.
Anyway, so this morning, Gary Boyce, our highway superintendent, gave me a call and said, I need you up here ASAP. We need to talk. So with that, the talk was very good news. Our dial-a-bus went under a DOT inspection on Friday, and we need to congratulate the dial-a-bus team because they got passed with flying colors. Let me read it as I wrote it. They passed the flying colors, meaning there were no violations at all. The inspection went so well, we are now eligible to be refunded for the fines that have been levied against us over the last couple of years to the tune of $3,600. So not only did our team do a great job in keeping dial-a-bus dialed in, we're going to get some money back from our past many things, but nothing that was ever too minor. But listen, always nice to get money back. So I want to send out the congratulations to Tiffany Montalisi, who manages the program and does a lot more. Spent a lot of time on paperwork, I know alone, trying to get things dialed in, no pun intended, but dialed in and having the dial-a-bus thing run really smoothly. And Tiffany, thank you. I know you've done a great job. We also want to shout out to our driver, Deborah McCabe. She's an excellent driver, as Rain Man would say. But on top of that, she does a great job on keeping our passengers safe, keeping the bus clean inside and out, and it counts. Dial-a-bus is it's pretty well utilized, and she helps keep it a pleasurable experience for our people that use it. And of course, to our mechanic, Rick Jersey, who is the one who keeps up the maintenance and repairs on the dial-a-bus. With that, again, it's not worth mentioning, but I am going to mention it because they did find some flaws. 3 very minor things, and 2 of those were factory recalls on the bus, which Rick Jersey was, my understanding, Rick Jersey was easily able to fix.
He was able to fabricate the muffler to be rerouted prior to the departure of the inspector. Therefore, we had no violations. We left it open for the entire day, and Rick Jersey was able
To fix it right on the spot.
It was pretty remarkable.
And
Like I said, it wasn't just one quick fix. He rerouted the entire muffler system.
And they said the only other thing, it was like was a dirty battery terminal, which had hardly any, little, nothing that's probably not in everybody's car. I think it was,
We didn't have a mechanic in-house.
Right.
Totally different story.
exactly. So I only mentioned those because they were, again, Tiffany said the experience with the, was really good and was really happy to, again, to come out with a very nearly, a 100% clean report. And congrats on too, and that we're gonna get some fine money back. That's great. That all helps a lot. So thank you to your team. I'm gonna give you a round of hand. Thank you for all you do up there. On the other good note, after Tiffany was so happy to tell me about the good news with the DOT inspection, for 2022, our tonnage for garbage was down over 240 tons, which means we save a lot of money from the prior year, 2021. And our recycling numbers went up nearly 8 tons. And again, our tipping fees are growing, and on top of what it takes for us to get our garbage where it's got to go down to Haverstraw, there's cost involved, manpower, diesel, et cetera, et cetera. So again, thank you to the community for stepping up recycling in your household. We hope people will do more because besides the environmental impact, we save money, and that's always a great thing. And I just want to send a shout over to Councilman King for last Monday, him and his MLK team organizing another great day that, just to bring the community together for the new holiday that it is very proud to acknowledge. And look, anytime you give an example to hear Mrs. Claiborne's voice, whether it's singing over the PA system on a police car or, saying her speech at the program, and you know what, Mrs. Claiborne is a prime example of what you could say is part of the greatness of a community, and can be more proud to have been there to see her in action. So thanks again for last Monday, and congratulations, Ty, just pulling it all together as you do. That's all I got.
Councilman King.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. Just a few notes from me to piggyback off what my colleague, Councilman DeWitt just said. I concur that the MLK Day was a great success. So in that light, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that was involved in helping, particularly, those folks who were involved in putting the event together. We've already recognized publicly during that day. But then there's folks behind the scenes, like Kelly and Leslie and June, who I've come to on several occasions at the last minute to ask for something, and they've always delivered. So I just wanted to say publicly to them, thank you so much for what you do behind the scenes. You do a fabulous job. We also have, I want to recognize again the fact that, let me ask Tiffany something. So the dial-up bus, does the dial-up bus also service people that live on West Point?
Yes, go from Bear Mountain onto West Point. We got the permission last year to go right onto the
Okay, well, that explains why I seen the bus on West Point then.
We have a few regulars that rely on dial bus to get them to work.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting. One day I was over there and I see the dial-up bus come cruising through.
There used to be a problem with that. You had to get your passes for each person and all that
Not an
stuff.
issue.
No, I know it's no more.
Go right on. and-
Yeah. Very smart of West Point.
Well, here's the real reason I bring that up. So that, in and of itself, is a great thing. And then I look at that flag over there that says the town of Highlands, and it includes Bear Mountain, Fort Montgomery, Highland Falls, and West Point as one community. And so to see all the people that came from West Point to participate in the
Absolutely.
MLK March demonstrated this one community type of deal. It was a good
That's
feeling.
my spiel when I answer the phone.
Yeah.
Service Bear Mountain to West Point, everywhere in between.
It's
so
a beautiful thing.
It is.
So that being said, we're gonna go into creating, and we've already been doing this kind of an informal kind of way, but with the supervisory board's permission, I want to make it a little bit more, if possible, codified. whatever that means. But the bottom line up front, diversity and inclusion is a big deal to me. And if you ain't figured it out, and then ethnic observances. So I learned that stuff in the military, as the supervisor can attest to. Every month there's some kind of thing going on. And so with those kind of folks like West Pointers living in Highland Falls, by the way, so Dr. Irby, I don't know if everybody saw him during the MLK March, him and his children got up and did a little speech. Well, they come from West Point, but he lives in Highland Falls. And so we got this kind of interconnection here with folks. And I said to myself, okay, well, how can we get better at this thing? And I looked at the Department of Defense observances, and I said, we do a lot of them, but maybe we get better at doing more of them. So in February, we got, of course, Black History Month, so we're preparing for that now. And in fact, I'm happy to say that there's a child or a student that from O'Neill High School has volunteered to help me with preparing for the African American History Month program, whatever that's going to become. But I'm going to sit down with these students. I got one so far, and then we're going to try to get more and see what we can come up with. But then there's also stuff like National School Counseling Week. There's Women's History Month in March. There is Read Across America. Then there's Holocaust Remembrance in April. There is Month of the Military Child in also April. There's Teachers Appreciation Week, Nurses Day, Asian American Day in May, if you didn't know that. And then we got, Lesbian and Gay Day in June, and we got Juneteenth right behind that, and then Women's Equality in August, and then September we got Suicide Prevention, and we got National Preparedness and National Day of Service and Remembrance on 9/11. And we got Hispanic Heritage, which we did recognize Hispanic Heritage a couple years ago, right before COVID. We looked at, we took care of 15 members of our community and recognized them for their contributions. So that all being said, we're doing some sort of thing where it's kind of like, it's just me like, hey, you, could you help kind of thing right now. But more and more people are coming forward, and we want to try to kind of make that a little bit more formal. So we can try to not only talk about Black History Month, but also Asians and Hispanics and be more consistent with that. And I want to definitely get these students from the high school, middle school, or intermediate school that is involved. Also, I want to recognize that in the police world, we had an incident on a week or so ago. On Sunday of last week, a fire was very, concerned with this particular fire because we had someone kind of like trapped inside of a building, and as this fire was taking place, one of our officers, Officer Brian Newberry, got there and rushed into the building and searched for this particular person. Now, and the person really was looking for their pet as smoke was starting to billow inside the building. So it got more and more risky. Well, then that officer, without hesitation, runs in the building and goes and finds the person and the animal. I think the animal succumbed to the injuries, though, the cat.
2 animals.
There's 2?
Both.
So we saved one, and one of them.
I heard the dog also.
Okay, well.
Drowned.
But Officer Newberry, in my view, was a hero on that day, if not more than him, because there was others that responded to that call for sure. Like our fire department, for example, did a phenomenal job. But the note that I got was specifically about his actions. And so what I did is forward that to some of our elected officials at the state level, i.e. Senator James Skoufis, Assemblyman Christopher Eakes, and also County Legislator Lloyd Tortel. And with that being said, so far what I've got in response is a certificate. And I'm going to read it here just for the sake of our audience at home, and then I'm going to take and present it to Officer Newberry at work whenever Chief gives me the green light, whenever he's on shift. But it says, certificate of recognition presented to Officer Brian Newberry in recognition for his heroic actions on Sunday, the 15th of January, 2023, in rescuing one of our local residents from a burning building. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and signature on this 23rd day of January 2023. Signed, Senator James Skoufis, New York State Senate, 42nd Senate District. So we thank Senator Skoufis' office. We thank Officer Newberry. We thank the police, Town of Highlands Police and Fire Department and everyone else that responded in that time of need and making sure we didn't have a casualty that night. Also, a couple years ago, I was able to do something that I wanted to try to bring back. One was, we had two, I think it was two, Chief, that students that became interns, one or two, interns for the police department, if you remember.
I remember one.
Okay, it was one. So then I had another two that were interns over at West Point at Ike Hall with the entertainment business over there and the theater. And so this year I got called by the school asking if there's opportunity for two students to be interns in the finance world. Now, close as I am to the finance world is Kelly in that office down there. So I'm gonna ask Kelly, can we use these two students as interns in her office with your permission and the board's?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I just want to say to the community, be careful out there. As you can see, the weather has changed, at least for today. And so as the temperatures are still very cold and we have water with freezing temperatures, it doesn't take much to figure out it's going to be ice. So be careful as you drive along those roads out there. That's coming from the emergency management hat that I wear. That's subject to any questions. That's all I got, Mr. Supervisor. and
Thank
board.
you, sir.
Well, then I'll remind you that our highway department's gonna be right on top of it, so.
Well, I know they are. Every year, they out there before the snow even starts coming. They're putting salt all over the place. They're on it.
Ty, I'd like to say, you know, in your different projects on the diversity in town here, I was literally shocked to see, not that they don't do anything for us, but to see the West Point officers and enlisted people in the Martin Luther King Parade. That was really nice to see them there in their dress uniforms, and they looked real good. There's a quote from Abraham Lincoln: "I walk slowly, never backwards." That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing.
Thank you.
Anybody want to go for recess? Because mine's long tonight.
Oh, boy.
Now's your chance, okay?
I thought you already did yours.
No,
I seem to remember you doing yours already.
I'm not, because I still can't hear out of my left ear. I might want to have Ty read this this is Ronnie Coffey as a project. You go ahead and read that, Ty.
Okay. So, the Town of Highlands Historical Society presents a pop-up museum featuring the black history of the Town of Highlands. Highland Falls Library, lower floor, Wednesday, January 25th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Saturday, January 28th from 12 noon to 2 p.m. A pop-up museum is interactive. See the treasures of the Historical Society collection and share your own photos, artifacts, scrapbooks, and memories and stories. Free and open to adults and children. So I endorse this along with my colleague. I think this is something important, and I plan to be there.
And I would stop there briefly today. I told her I'd come in tomorrow morning. She's gonna give me a pair of scissors and hope I don't wreck the whole thing. I'm gonna cut stuff and help her out in some way. So just want to make, because I always forget to talk about Ronnie when I do my reports for the historical thing. So I think that's a very nice program. Okay. The Zoning Board of Appeals. I sound like a broken record, I know. Met last Wednesday at Town Hall. I attended the meeting where they reorganized. Jack Jones, the chairman, Elise Terhune, their attorney, Fran DeWitt's their recording secretary. The members are Joe Murphy, Jim Ramus, Ed Falta, Danny Zint, and Jack Janarone. Subsequent to that, met last Thursday with Jack and Justin, briefly here at Town Hall, to discuss some possible changes to Chapter 109 of the code pertaining to fees, mostly in relation to escrow fees, putting a little bit of beef in the verbiage, adding a little money to it, because there are some people that are beating the system. We're trying to catch up with that. I'll leave it at that. for the future, right, Justin? That's something that's a work in progress.
Yep, we should be introducing a local law at the first February meeting and scheduling a public hearing at the second February meeting.
Okay. The Citizens Environmental Advisory Committee met here last Friday, the 13th, or 2 Fridays ago, the 13th. I'd like to thank community members. Elaine McConnell was here, Dan Mauser, if I said that right, Ashley McAdam, who we named tonight to the committee, and Katie Hertel, who we named tonight to the committee, along with Tiffany and Olga. I hope I didn't miss anybody. So we outlined some things we'd like to do. This community choice aggregation is huge. The EV charging stations aren't too far away from ribbon cutting, are they, Bob?
I don't see what they're waiting for, to tell you the
Okay,
truth.
so I don't know if they're operational, but they're close, you know,
Yeah,
down
they're
there
not
in
operational,
Montgomery.
no.
Earth Day events that we've talked about. Last year I postponed it, the stretch energy code. We didn't implement it. We didn't beat the deadline. The state is doing that for us, one step at a time, with what we recently adopted from them. And the planning board met last Thursday. They meet every month on the third Thursday. Justin's our attorney. That makes it easy for us. I know Dean couldn't attend, and I had a minor conflict. I said what that was, so I wasn't able to attend. They didn't have a lot on their agenda. They had a lot line change. That was resolved, right?
Finished.
Right, the village changed their law recently, didn't they, to make it a little bit easier to call it a lot line change rather than a minor subdivision?
That's correct. That has streamlined the process.
Okay, that went well. Was Pine Hills on their agenda?
Pine Hill
They're
appeared.
moving- Pine Hills owns the entrance to Corbin Hill, what used to be the Tonneson property. And like, you know, as much as I can say about it, having living here all my life, I still don't understand Cherry Street. And I think a lot of other people don't either, but they're working on it. Oh, and in regard to Ty's MLK Day, I've never done that before. I was off from work. It was wonderful. The speaker was wonderful. I really enjoyed that event. I sat next to Bob and then Copold. I was able to keep in step with everybody. Reverend Kemp had some really kind words, and so did you. It was a fabulous event. And I'm not the police liaison, but I'm going to say one thing about them. At Chris Burns' funeral, Chief Basile stopped me. I jaywalked. I thought he was going to make me cross the road again and try it again, but he let me slide for this time. So thank you for not writing me a ticket. So now back to the planning. This is long. I attended the village comprehensive plan meeting at the senior center. The meeting was well attended, with over 20 people there. Most of the village board was there, along with their attorney, several members of the planning board, and several members of the zoning board. This is important. Even though the village is changing it, it affects us because there's townwide departments involved. Presenter Jim Martin offered some interesting demographics, one of which was most residential properties cost $1.30 for every dollar of income going to the municipality. That's generally known to be true. The other is commercial properties cost about 30 cents for every dollar of income to the municipality. And Highland Falls currently has 0 industrial uses. They have some commercial, but no industrial. We know what our boundaries are around here with where we live at and how much land we have. He also indicated that over 50% of the homes in Highland Falls are not owner-occupied, which you already knew from the Barge report back during dissolution. I think it's around 43% or something like that. So the majority of this meeting was spent talking about, and this is near and dear to my heart, the lack of code enforcement at the Academy Motel at 41 Main Street. There were several neighbors who got up and spoke about rats, loud noise, rubbish, high grass, and vagrants. And very little time was actually spent on talking about the future effects of the proposed comprehensive plan. At that meeting, I made mention of the status of the former Penn Fed building, which is now vacant with no building on it, hence their assessment was reduced because there's no building on it. I mentioned that lot has its approvals and is deficient by 35 spaces, which the applicant is going to negotiate with the village of Highland Falls. So when people speculate what's going on, That's what's going on. It needs parking, and he needs to negotiate with the Village of Highland Falls to get it. I also mentioned at 341 Main Street, the church has its approval. The building department is awaiting any submissions for that project to move forward. And then finally, I checked today, the former Key Bank building, I see it's for sale. It's for sale for $1.8 million, in case anybody's interested. I checked on that today. And at one point in this meeting, it was suggested that the village have their own code enforcement officer. So, I invite anybody to see what the civil service list has to offer. The village did this about 20 years ago. The code officer that they hired was to take care of supplementary quality of life issues. He quit after a month. So I have dedicated the whole week with Philip in pursuing the Academy Hotel, along with another property in Fort Montgomery that has some zoning issues. Philip Hannawald is a master carpenter with a lifetime of building experience. He has been dedicated to the job he has, as I have been his liaison. On Saturday, I received a call of action that there was action going on a property to stop work order. Philip went out upon command on a Saturday, which he doesn't have to do, but he did. So my advice to the public is, trust us. I have 25 years of zoning, planning, and building experience, and because of several building inspectors quitting during COVID and the deficiencies of the civil service list for building inspectors, Philip is certified as a code enforcement building safety inspector, fire inspector, and that department is structured where he has the resources of a professional engineer who is also a building inspector at his disposal, and we use them. If the village were to hire their own code enforcement officer, I would be happy to come forward with how much it's currently costing them to have it as a town-wide service, and the town building department dedicates 75% of everything they do to the Village of Highland Falls at a good bargain. So I won't hound on that anymore. Sewer. The Headworks building down at the sewer plant needs a roof. I'm almost done with an RFP because Bob and I have spoken about this and the board knows. Do we increase the size of the Headworks building? We can't wait anymore. So the RFP will be done probably by Wednesday. As per our procurement policy, we'll have to get 3 prices, and there's some local ones I'm gonna have go down and look at it, just like I did 5 years ago. We're doing the same thing. Hopefully by February, before it's over with, that's replaced because the ceiling is caving in and that.
Well, not if you consider it an emergency. Yeah, you mentioned the
I know.
ceiling's caving in. So
We're
the-
okay. It's
Okay.
caving in, he's protected the bar screen thing. We'll be okay for another month to get
Okay.
it done.
Then you need three quotes.
And I'm not trying to be a hero. I really don't feel it doing the RFP. If you get involved with the engineer, you're gonna spend the money there, you're gonna have asbestos testing, you're gonna have all this stuff. It's gonna turn into $100,000 before the day is over with. I'm just trying to avoid that. We had a previous price on the roof of $6,000, so we can keep this low and under control. My water report, just like to thank Kelly, Tiffany, Leslie, Gary, Greg Marr, and Ryan Full for the work that they're doing in correcting some of these end code readers one at a time. I met with Gary for an hour last week at the garage to discuss the whole subject of water, and I am currently assembling names for people to send to Morrisville in April to get their D license. Not 100 people, but we want redundancy. Right now we have 1. So we're working on a few people to go up there for that. And as I sent out an email to everybody, especially thank Greg Marr, because on Martin Luther King Day, he received a phone call from the police about noontime that Corbin Hill residents are noticing water coming onto the pavement from up at the water building. What happened is during the night before by Ion Water, about 7:30, a plastic part broke loose. It was 2 inches, and we solved that by 1 o'clock the next day. Having lost about 100,000 gallons of water, I sent out a full report to every member of the village board, and I called a few of them, and just a little bit disappointed nobody got back to me except for Melanie, because they require that we notify them on these things, and I did. And the last thing I won't touch upon too much is when I mentioned that 50% of the houses in Highland Falls are not owner occupied. It so happens in chapter 128 of the village code, there's a landlord registry. I looked at it today. I have 111 names and it has kind of been forgotten about. It would be a huge project. We're not gonna know everybody who's renting out their house. It'd be really tough to find out. So far this year, we've had one person come in to register. I won't mention her name, but she told me I could, but I won't. And so, if people want to go after the Academy Motel, which I think we should and whatnot, and a landlord registry, we could double the size of town hall to bring this all into compliance. So I would ask people to just trust the building department, and that's my report.
Thank you, sir. Chief, do you have anything for us? No. Justin, do you have anything? Okay, I have a reminder that the assessor asked me to read the deadline for all exemptions in the assessor's office, such as veterans, senior citizens, aged, wholly exempt, and the enhanced senior star. The deadline is March the 1st. By March the 1st, you've got to notify or go in to see the assessor. The eligibility requirements for people that have gotten exemptions in the past, their requirements are different than the new owners. So if there's anyone listening to this now, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because you won't remember what I've said anyway, and that's not a dig at anybody, it's just a lot of stuff on, a lot of writing on this. This is posted on our website. So it's, go to our website, and if you expect to get the star exemption, senior exemption, any of those things, go to our website and see what you have to do. What was it? Ty, I think you mentioned that the Chris Burns funeral, and, no, you did, by going to street. Yeah, okay. I felt very, very, very bad that I could not make his wake or his funeral. It is very unusual for me to be sick. Believe me, I was sick. I didn't get off my back, or, well, I had to a few times, but I was sick, and I had some kind of flu virus, and so if anybody noticed that I wasn't there, trust me, I felt very bad that I wasn't there. Financial reports. Yes.
Did you approve the minutes?
Well, going to it now, getting
Oh,
close,
okay.
getting close.
I'll-
No, thank you, you can remind me on anything that I forget. June usually does. The big, we transferred $102,075 from the consolidated account to the accounts payable to cover this week's check run. Orange and Rockland got $5,831. Our legal fees were $8,885. Rockland County waste for hauling, $25,422. Town of New Windsor Technology Services, $7,609. Edmonds Government Technology and Software and Maintenance, $18,214. Any questions on those? Okay, I have the minutes of our January 9th meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried, thank you. Did that. Is there any public comment? Paula, do you have anything? You sure? You just wanted to see how we run a meeting? All right, okay, no, thank you for being here. Really, thank you very much for being here.
Just one thing I'll add, because I didn't want to get too long-winded, which I already was. I looked over the last 10 years at all the complaints for the Academy Hotel, which are numerous, for high grass and for rubbish. And anecdotally, it's only hearsay at this point, that there are vagrants there staying there longer than 30 days, which is not permitted by the village code. There has never been a formal complaint filed for a vagrant. If people want to do so, the building department is right down there, they can. Those are all anecdotal. So if we're gonna go after them, it has to be better than hearsay. We gotta prove it. and I will, but I'm just letting everybody know, no formal complaint has ever been filed for vagrancy. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, now, I don't know if we have to go into executive session or not. You all got the letter from Gary Boyce requesting a stipend for one of his employees. You want to talk about it, or you want to just go ahead and do the stipend?
Whatever the board's pleasure is, if everybody had the opportunity to look at the salary schedule, there's a lot of people on there that have been here a long time that haven't moved forward very fast. I'm prepared to vote on it. I told Gary that I would. I'm prepared.
I concur.
Okay, then I'll ask for a motion for the $1,000 stipend for Tiffany Montalese.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. And I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in
Can we get
favor?
a second to adjourn? Aye.
I don't know.
Thank you.